Have you ever gotten one of your cams stuck while cleaning the pitch? Maybe you couldn't get it out, or if you were the leader, your follower shouts up, "I can't get the cam out!" You're thinking you're just about to lose $60 worth of gear, or waste about a half an hour wrapping down trying to get your cam out. Well, here's my tips on how to get all your gear back. My first tip is don't get it stuck in the first place. Use the right size cam. That looks a little oversized. That looks better. Second, don't stick the cam in so deep that your follower will have trouble getting at the trigger. Third, consider using a sling if you feel the motion of the rope might lock the cam in deeper. A fourth way to prevent a cam from getting stuck is to take it out the way it was put in. Sometimes you can't just retract the lobe and pull it straight out. You need to walk it off to the side to a wider spot to pull it out. Okay, for whatever reason, you've got a stuck cam. As hard as you pull on the trigger, you just can't retract the lobes enough to extract the cam. What I find more often than not is that if you take a nut tool and you take the hook on the end of the nut tool, insert it in the cutout on one of the lobes, you can still retract the lobe. You can work each lobe like this one at a time and walk the cam out. It's a little tedious. Alternatively, if you have a cam that does not have a cutout in the lobe, you can use the end of the nut tool on one of the teeth and work it out one at a time, each lobe. If you happen to come across a cam that was walked deep into the crack or just placed deep in the crack and you can't get at the trigger with your fingers, you can usually get a nut tool in there, pull the trigger and push against the stem with your thumb and extract the cam right out. Okay, what if you have a worst case scenario where you can't get at the trigger, so you need to use your nut tool to pull it? But at the same time, you also need your nut tool to retract the lobes, because it's not only deep inside the crack, but it's over cammed. Well, I carry a string that retains my nut tool so I don't drop it on long climbs. And I like to take that string off, and I thread it around the stem and the trigger in such a way that with just the pull of the string, I can pull the trigger. This frees up the nut tool to work on the lobes one at a time. It's a little tedious, but it can be done. And it's better than buying a $60 cam, because you might need it on the next pitch. And I don't think there's a cam store at the belay station. So now it's rigged so that if I pull a string, it pulls the trigger, and while I do that, I can stick the nut tool deep inside and work on whatever cam might still be stuck on the features inside the rock. Once you get that, there we go. You got your cam back. In case you had trouble seeing what I did, I essentially took a bite of a small piece of accessory cord, put it through the stem, looped one end around one part of the trigger and ran it through my bite, the other end around the other part of the trigger, and then through the bite. This is essentially making a girth hitch, and that way when you pull the free ends of the girth hitch, it pulls the trigger and opposes the trigger force with the stem. So you can pull a cam out one-handed, leaving your other hand free to work with the nut tool on each lobe. Alright, those are all my tips on how to free your stuck cams. Hope you find it useful, and if you know of any others, let me know.